Buongiorno! Today we have a Maserati Grecale Trofeo. In this video, I'll talk about what the Maserati Grecale is, how I feel about the interior space, and what it's like to drive it. Maserati. As we all know, the past decade or so hasn't been all that great for this Italian manufacturer, and while they make amazing cars who are drivers' cars, well, their reliability is questionable, they depreciate like crazy, and the interior quality also is behind compared to its premium rivals. But there is hope. The past few years for Maserati has been a time for revamping their model lineup, and they introduced the new GranTurismo, new Gran Coupe, and today's hero, the Grecale. So the question is, what exactly is the Maserati Grecale? Well, this Porsche Macan competitor sits on a heavily modified Giorgio platform used in cars such as an Alfa Romeo Giulia, Stelvio, or even, surprise surprise, a Jeep Gran Cherokee. Now, while the Grecale shares some elements with mentioned Stellantis products, it has been modified by Maserati to live up to the brand standards and prioritize driving dynamics. It features a double wishbone front suspension and a multilink setup in the back, combined with adaptive dampers standard. The Trofeo that we're testing today also gets air springs, which allow you to adjust the ride height depending on the drive mode you're in. In off-road mode, the car will race for better ground clearance. In sport, it will lower itself for better aerodynamics. Now, we can distinguish 4 different powertrain/trim options. We start with an entry-level GT model using a 296 horsepower 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder for around 70 grand without options. Next up is more powerful Modena, which has the same motor, cranked up to 325 horses, starting in the high 70s. The Trofeo that we're testing today features a twin-turbo V6 Nettuno engine that you can find in MC20 or the GranTurismo. It pushes out 523 horsepower, and that will cost you about $107,000. Lastly, we have a fully electric Folgore variant that makes a total of 542 horses for around 110 grand. Gas variants get an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission, and all models, including the electric one, feature a rear-biased all-wheel drive system. Obviously, in the electric model, there is one motor on each axle. Now, before we talk what it's like to drive the Grecale Trofeo, let's take a look inside and talk about the interior space. It smells so good in here. I think I'm just gonna say good things about this cabin. Anyways, guys, inside the new Maserati Grecale. Well, for the most part, the cabin feels original and has that Italian flair that we all love. While the design is rather simple, I wouldn't call it boring, and from the quality standpoint, I really cannot complain, at least in this Trofeo model. A lot of surfaces are covered in leather, there is a good use of aluminum, and not only does it all look nice, it's also very well put together, which honestly is a positive surprise for an Italian car, especially a Maserati. Now, I said that the cabin for the most part feels original, but there are still some elements shared with other Stellantis products, such as the stalks or the steering wheel controls, and same applies to technology, meaning you get the same software that a $30,000 Dodge Hornet has. So let's quickly talk about the infotainment system. It's an Android Automotive-based unit which is pretty responsive and has a logical layout, but considering Maserati's position in an automotive hierarchy, they should have at least designed a bespoke graphical interface. Right underneath it, you have a second screen, which is a supplement to the infotainment, and you'll find there things like the HVAC controls, seat controls, or the lighting settings. Not gonna lie, I would prefer having physical controls for those things, but it's nice to have some sort of separation from the main infotainment screen. The digital gauge cluster is fairly customizable, allowing you to change the design of your gauges and display all the relevant information, such as the trip computer, navigation map, or the vehicle information. Now, the usability. If you think that Italian cars are impractical, well, the Grecale will prove you wrong. The center console offers a decent amount of storage, door pockets are acceptable as well, and the cargo space is actually very impressive for a performance SUV, offering 20 cubic feet of space. The front seats, which are heated and cooled, are pretty comfortable. They offer good range of adjustments, including adjustable bolsters, and you sit relatively low for an SUV. Still not the sports car driving position, but I'll take it. Now moving to the back, that's another positive surprise. We get a good amount of headroom and legroom, and being 6'1", I can easily fit behind myself. We also have climate controls for the second row and a couple of charging ports. Well, that was the cabin of the Maserati Grecale, so let's get it on the road now and see how it drives. Well, I was trying to start the car and it just moved my seat back, so that's gonna be interesting. Okay guys, driving the Grecale. Now, as a luxury performance SUV, the Grecale has a few rivals and they mostly come from Germany. We have a BMW X3M competition, we have Porsche Macan GTS or Mercedes GLC 63 AMG. Now, I can tell you right away that compared to all of those cars, this has the most character of them all. It has that Italian flair, that element of fun that we all love in cars. So since we are on our favorite back road, let's put it into the most aggressive Corsa mode for a second. Transmission into manual mode, downshift, downshift. Oh boy, this is incredible. It was like a half throttle pull, but oh boy. That V6 that sits under the hood, that Nettuno 3-liter, is just incredible. It has an amazing character, delivers power extremely well, and it has a lot of power. I mean, more than 520 horsepower in an SUV like that, well, that can only mean fun. The 8-speed transmission provided by ZF has also been really well tuned. Quick to upshift, quick to downshift. Not as fast as BDK in Porsche, but it's totally fine. We all love the ZF 8 HP unit. As we go through corners, in the most hardcore settings for the dampers, there's very minimal body roll and the body control is great. The all-wheel drive system is rear biased and we can tell that the car really likes to rotate. It really listens to all of your inputs. The steering is also fantastic. It provides feedback, better feedback than some sports cars. And we're talking about a compact SUV here. As we go through those corners, we have plenty of fun, plenty of mechanical grip. There is a little bit of safe understeer, but if you don't want it, well, alignment would fix that. All right, the pavement here is getting pretty rough, so let's put the Grecale into comfort mode. Once I figure out this dial, because it's still confusing to this day, there we go. Transmission back into drive, and let's talk about what it's like to drive the Grecale on a daily basis. Well, first thing that you have to know is it's a performance SUV in the Trofeo variant, and it will feel a little stiffer even compared to the Porsche Macan. I still think that the Macan has better ride quality, but this feels better than the X3M, and I really don't have any complaints. Granted, we have 21-inch rims on our tester, so they take away some of that comfort from you, but I can't really complain. If I get a performance SUV, I want a performance SUV. There's gonna be some things that I have to trade off for great driving dynamics, and I'm totally fine. As we cruise in comfort mode, the transmission, as your typical ZF 8 HP, is very smooth. It basically works like a CVT, but it's a real transmission. The engine provides a good amount of low-end torque. It's not as responsive in comfort mode as it is in sport modes. The exhaust is also a little bit more quiet. There's no farts as we upshift, but as a cruiser, as a true GT, the Grecale really excels. Quick story, my wife and I took a trip from Phoenix in Arizona to Texarkana, which is in East Texas last year. We went to Enterprise and we ended up getting a Grecale GT, which is a base model with 2-cylinder, and doing over 1,200 miles in one shot was a great experience. The cabin was super quiet. The driver assistance systems maybe don't work as well as they do in German competitors, but the adaptive cruise control is still there. Lane keeping assist works. It's not super annoying. There's no lane centering per se. You do have to keep your hands on the steering wheel, but hey, we as car enthusiasts, we love keeping our hands on the steering wheel and being in full control of the car. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say about the Grecale, so let's head into the final thoughts and summarize this thing. Okay guys, summing up the Maserati Grecale. Now, as I said in the intro, the past decade hasn't been all that great for Maserati, but the Grecale is a step in the right direction and a breath of fresh air. I honestly enjoyed it more than I thought, and from a driving dynamics perspective, this is much better than all of its German rivals combined. I drove a base 4-cylinder model in the past and it was okay, but the Trofeo with a twin-turbo V6 is the variant that truly impressed me. Its ride quality may not be as refined as in the Porsche Macan, but driving this thing on a daily basis isn't punishing by all means, and the only concern is long-term reliability and depreciation. But truth be told, most people lease those kinds of cars, so I wouldn't worry about that much, and heck, if I was in the market for a performance SUV, I think the Grecale would be my choice. Anyways, if you guys have any questions about this thing, drop a comment and I'll answer them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.